Islam, greetings. We're back with another lesson from the Sacred Grove. So on this one, we're going to get into Elihu's lessons on historical origins of religion and 5 stances. So basically, condensed history lesson today. So we go into Elihu's lessons, the Brahmic religion, life of Abram, Jewish sacred books, the Persian religion. So 1. Elihu taught. He said, in ancient times, a people in the east were worshippers of Allah, the One, whom they call Brahm. 2. Their laws were just. They lived in peace. They saw the light within. They walked in wisdom's ways. 3. But priests with carnal aims arose, who changed the laws to suit the carnal mind, bound heavy burdens on the poor, and scorned the rules of right. And so the Brahms became corrupt. Now remember, when we go through this week as Moorish Americans, these lessons can correlate with our time of today. So you know how organizations, priesthoods, religions, governments, over time, they'll start off with good intent, but over time become corrupt because power corrupts. So that's what he get into just now. 4. But in the darkness of the age, a few great masters stood unmoved. They loved the name of Brahm. They were great beacon lights before the world. I remember in Venetia they make the Moorish artifacts with the holding up the light, like the Statue of Liberty. So that's what that correlate with. So, and 5. And they preserve and violate the wisdom of their holy Brahm, and you may read this wisdom in their sacred books. 6. And in Chaldea, Brahm was known. A pious Brahm named Terah lived in Ur. His son was so devoted to Brahmic faith that he was called Abram, and he was set apart to be the father of the Hebrew race. In English, we say Abraham. 7. Now Terah took his wife and son, and you see Terah. So you see Ra as in the Egyptian Ra, the light. 7. Now Terah took his wife and sons and all his flocks and herds to Haran in the west. Here Terah died. 8. And Abram took the flocks and herd and with his kindred journeyed farther west. 9. And when he reached the oaks of Morah, the Moorish woman, in the land of Canaan, he pitched his tent and there abode. 10. A famine swept the land, and Abram took his kindred and his flocks and herds and came to Egypt. And in these fertile plains of Zohan pitched his tent and here abode. And in our sense, we're talking about Illinois, the plains of the Midwest. 11. And man still marked the place where Abram lived across the plain. 12. You ask why Abram come to Egypt land or Chicago. This is the cradle land of the initiate. All secret things belongs to Egypt land, and this is why the masters come. 13. In Zoan, Abram taught his science of the stars. And in that sacred temple over there, he learned the wisdom of the wise. 14. And when his lessons were learned, he took his kindred and his flocks and herds and journeyed back to Canaan. And in the plains of Mamre, pitched his tent, and there he lived, and there he died. 15. And records of his life and works, and of his sons, and of the tribes of Israel, are well preserved in Jewish sacred books. "16. In Persia Braun was known, and fared. Man saw him as the one, the causeless cause of all that is, and he sacred unto them, as Allah to the dwellers of the farther east. 17. The people lived in peace, and justice ruled. 18. But as in other lands, in Persia, priests arose imbued with self and self-desires, who outraged force, intelligence, and love." So it's showing counterproductive productivity when you imbued with self and self-desire, you counter to intelligence and love. You're adversary to those things. 19. Religion grew corrupt, and birds and beasts and creeping things were set apart as gods. 20. In course of time, a lofty soul, whom man called Zarathustra, and we say Sarastra in English, came in flesh. 21. He saw the causes, spirit, high and lifted up. He saw the weakness of all man appointed gods. 22. He spoke, and all of Persia heard. And when he said, one God, one people, and one shrine, the altars of the idols fell, and Persia was redeemed. And we can place this Persia in the southeastern parts of the United States. "23. But man must see their God with human eyes, as Zarathustra said. 24. The greatness of the spirit standing near the throne is the Ahura Mazda, who manifests the brightness of the sun. 25. And all the people saw Ahura Mazda in the sun, and they fell down, and they worshipped him in temples of the sun." Which we could find all over this North America now as hills when you drive it on top of these old ancient mounds was essentially temples of the moon, temples of the sun, more science temples. 26. And Persia is the Magian land where loved the priest who saw the star arise to mark the place where Mary's son was born, and were the first to greet him as the Prince of Peace, the Prince of Islam. Uh, Mira Mamolinos. Let's look that up. Very important to know about this. Prince of Peace. Let me see right here. Amermonis. That's the version that American come under. That's why you see so much different languages of it, because that's what they're talking about. Talking about the Prince of Peace. This particular Prince of Peace, Mary's son, is this allegory for the Moorish American woman and her son. 27. The precepts and the laws of Zoroaster are reserved in the Avesta, which you can read and make your own. And that's what we're doing now. That's why this Persia, as we speak, is here today. Where we at? But you must know that words are not till they are made alive, until the lessons they contain become part of head and heart. That is very important to know. 28. But you must know that words are not till they are made alive, until the lessons they contain become part of head and heart. 29. Now truth is one, but no one knows the truth until he is the truth. It is recorded in an ancient book. 30. Truth is the leavening power of Allah. It can transmute the art of life into itself, and when the art of life is truth, then man is truth. In the movie Lucy gets into that. See right here, say her body changed into a black substance that began spreading over computers and other electronic objects in the lab, transforming them into a next generation supercomputer. She mentally begins a space-time journey into the past, eventually reaching the oldest discovery ancestor of mankind, Lucy. Basically saying, man can't. Time was never was when man was not. She touches her fingertip with her thing, goes all the way to the beginning of time, and witnesses the Big Bang. So she becoming the all. It's basically telling you that, saying like she sent a message back to them and said, "I am everywhere." So, somebody in Hollywood reading these lists. 30. Truth is the living power of Allah. It can transmute the all of life into itself. And when the all of life is truth, then man is truth. So more of Elihu's lessons continues. Buddhism and the precepts of Buddha and the mysteries of Egypt. 1. Again, Elihu taught. He said the Indian priests became corrupt. Brahm was forgotten in the streets. The rights of man was trampled in the dust. 2. And then a mighty master came, a Buddha of enlightenment, who turned away from wealth and all the honors of the world and found the silence in the quiet groves and caves, and he was blessed. 3. He preached a gospel of higher life and taught man how to honor man. 4. He had no doctrine of the gods to teach. He just knew man. And so his creed was justice, love, and righteousness. So basically, he ain't had no corporate, I'm trying to think how to put this, popularized view, stigmatized view of a religion. By his religion, but actually justice, love, and righteousness. Wherever that is, that's his religion. So that's what we're trying to show you how to be the religion. We don't even mention religion or talk about religion a lot from as most Americans because we don't see the need to. The whole point of the religion is to get these lessons and live this way and learn how to. Apparently, he ain't living them because of the disorder you see in this nation, but let's continue. 5. I quote for you a few of many of the helpful words with which Buddha spoke. 6. And there's some lessons from Buddha. Hate is a cruel word. If man hates you, regard it not, and you can turn the hate of man to love and mercy and goodwill. And mercy is as large as all the heavens. 7. And there is good enough for all. Alright? 7. There is good enough for all. That's one thing we gotta know. With good, destroy the bad. With generous deeds, make avarice a shame. With truth, make straight the crooked lies that error draws. For error is by truth distorted, going astray. 8. And pain will follow him who speaks or acts with evil deeds, as does the wheel of a foot of him who draws the cart. So you only get what you put out, basically what I'm saying. 9. He is the greater man who conquers self than he who kills 1,000 men in war. 10. He is the noble man who is himself while he believes what other man should be or should go, where other man should go, or how other man should be. Those type of things that we do constantly. And I saying we, including myself. 11. Return to him who does you wrong with purest love, and he will cease from doing you wrong. For love will purify the heart of him who is beloved as truly as it purifies the heart of him who loves. 12. The words of Buddha are recorded in the Indian sacred books. And we're talking about the West Indies. And now, okay, attend to them, for they are part of the instruction of the Mother Holy Breath. 13. The land of Egypt is the land of secret things. 14. The mysteries of the ages lie lockbound in our temples and our shrines. 15. The master of all times and clients come here to learn. And when your sons and daughters have grown to man and womanhood, they will finish all their studies in Egyptian schools or Moorish science temples or schools. Basically, schools is one of the most important things. We'll get into more about economics, how we look at that, how we should, according to what I believe, since this is my channel, and other aspects. But schools, even if it's something just as small as a YouTube channel teaching something, it can be teaching arithmetic, something that is a school. So 16. But I have said enough. Tomorrow at the rising of the sun, we meet again. Okay. So basically, a lot of this is also self-explanatory. But 11, I see as stuff that we get away from, and that been always our most the nobles. If people, we as a people, we always got a thing with nobility, king, queen. We always call our daughters princess and stuff like that, but we don't really know what are things that they used to do and how they used to think. Those old morals who've been on record as prince or king this and that, right? Queen this and Candace and all these people, right? So how they used to be, and I don't see us going into those records trying to make sure we keep up with those customs. That's who we is, without doubt or contradiction. Then we not living the way that we supposed to live. But a lot of the things that we do, what I see when I read, I look at these old nobility historical records, I see that we still do a whole lot of the customs and stuff for these same princes and princesses. That's how I know who these people are today. I see the history, and I know they ain't, they're just doing them automatically. I look at my own family, my own history. I realize we already been doing a lot of the stuff that I read at these nobilities to do, and a lot of stuff that we don't do or think a way, certain way no more, being converted by Rome, obviously. Right, through Hollywood mostly, showing you what how black supposed to be, the culture of a black or African American, creating the matrix of what that is in the mind of the multitude of humans and life forms in the whole, creating that reality, and we living it out in the movie. And they even show us supposedly a joke, but the reality of that situation on the CB4 when your boy Peter Paul, he make a video and he said, "I'm black, y'all, and I'm black." He been trying to show us that they got control of what that is, good or bad. We might, a lot of things we think that consider us, that we say and do, that make us, that we created by other people and think tanks in Russia, China, Ukraine. We can go on and on. They got videos on YouTube. They got a lecture on YouTube showing you a bunch of Ukrainians when they create the propaganda behind the Black Lives Matter thing, because they take money to create that propaganda, right? Because George Floyd became popular because somebody created a operation behind that to create history, historical, a mastermind. But regardless, we get back to our own ways and we'll be safe and things start falling, things that we see. We got our own lessons. We know what's right and wrong. Let them prove that they got it, or whoever they is, or whoever adversary you face. So peace till next time.